extensive work experience, as you, or as they call you, explorer as a teacher. Both roles you perform very well. And not only that you're active in a business field, you are also doing so many other aside activities, which is very impressive, being a swimming coach. And I saw some videos of yours, so that's remarkable. And of course, one of the passions you are having, obviously, is education. And in addition to teaching with the Alfred Force School of Management, I know you were running also some additional courses and having a number of students in different fields, but here we are speaking about your upcoming book next month. So maybe we can start with just very straightforward, direct question. What inspired you to write this book and pick up on that topic? And I guess that's the first book of that type coming from you. Please.
Yes. So thank you, Dario, for your kind introduction. So what inspired me to write this book? I believe it is the need of the hour, the kind of the environment that the businesses are going through. We are living in the digital age, right? We all agree that. So let me just quickly give you an understanding. What do I mean by digital age and what is pre-digital age? So if we want to give it a timestamp, we can go back to the year 2010. So all the years before 2010, we can categorize them as pre-digital age. And after 2010, that decade onwards, we can categorize them as the digital age, because somewhere around in 2010, the word digital transformation was being coined by a joint research program at MIT and Capgemini. These two organizations, they came together and they had a research program. And in that, they had coined the word digital transformation. And from that time period, we can start, or we can say that that is the era of digital transformation. Why? Because it was in the decade of 2010, starting from the early in the decade, many digital transformation technologies came into the market. And it actually created a kind of a storm in the business community about how to adopt them into their businesses and how to extract and derive value for the customers. So it sparked a great amount of interest among all the different businesses. So that is the era, or that is the time period from which the digital age began. So actually, it's not that these technologies didn't exist before 2010, okay? And it is not like an on-off switch that suddenly 2009, we were in a pre-digital era, and suddenly in 2010, we turned on the switch and we jumped into digital. It didn't happen like that. The research and development for all these technologies happened much before 2010. Maybe in the late 90s or in the early 2000 decade. But what happened in 2010 is that these technologies came into prominence. It rose to prominence into the market. So people became more aware, the awareness around it increased. The businesses started seeing value in them, and also they started developing different applications by which the customers also could derive some value. So that's why we consider the age 2010 as the age after which we saw the prominence, the rise in these technologies. Okay, so these are two different things. First, we have the R&D that can happen like several decades before the actual technology comes into the market, and then we have the digital age when these technologies actually rise into the prominence and people become aware and they start adapting them into the businesses. Okay, So we are in this digital age era, and many businesses have started adopting these digital transformation technologies. Let's go down to the basics. Let's try to understand what is digital transformation. So, as per the basic definition of digital transformation, which I have also mentioned in my book, because first of all, this word digital transformation was a very overused word and a very confused word. Many businesses used it several times when it came into prominence, and different people have different meanings, different connotations to this word digital transformation. It means different things to different people, but let us try to define it. Okay, what is digital transformation? So a digital transformation is a new way of doing business with the help of latest digital transformation technologies. Okay, I repeat, it's a new way of doing business with the help of latest digital technologies. So when I say a new way of doing business, it means that we have to transform. So if we're doing business in a certain way, now with the help of these technologies, we transform the business and create a new product, service, or an experience for the customer. That's what we mean. That's what I mean by the business transformation. And with the help of these digital technologies. To name a few digital transformation technologies, I can name first is AI, right, which is so hot in the market. So we have AI, we have automation, then we have blockchain, data science, data analytics, gamification, metaverse, cloud, AR, VR, and so on. And there will be many more technologies that will come into the market. So these are all the digital technologies. So here, digital transformation has two main components. First is the business component, and second is a technology component. So if there is only a transformation in the business, but there is no use of the technology, then actually it is not digital transformation by definition. And if a business is adopting technology, but it is not transforming the business in a certain way, and if the business is not seeking value from it, then it's still not the digital transformation. So if you want to understand what's digital transformation, it has two main components. First is it has a business component, and it has a technology component. So business plus technology is equal to digital transformation, and that's how we define this digital transformation. So I again repeat the definition. It is a new way of doing business with the help of latest digital transformation technologies. Okay, so is this clear about digital transformation? So, so once this digital transformation became very prominent in the market, when new digital technologies became aware, came to the market and people became aware and businesses started adopting to them, everyone wanted to embark on this journey of digital transformations. So, yeah, before I go there, I would like to just give you an understanding about the digital landscape. So, this was being defined by Professor Venkat from Boston University in his book called Digital Matrix. So Professor Venkat beautifully demonstrates, he has carved out what is a digital landscape. So in a digital landscape, there are three main players. First are the front runners, second are the entrepreneurs, and third are the incumbents. Now, who are the digital front runners? So he calls 5 companies as digital frontrunners. I will name those companies. I think you can also guess it, but the 5 companies are: first is Google, then Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook or Meta, and Apple. So these 5 companies are called digital frontrunners. Why they are the front runners? Because they have all the latest means and the resources to drive digital transformation, and they have done that, in fact. And these companies have their digital products and services in almost all the industries. So these companies have impacted all the industries, if you see. I can give an example. Let us take the example of the media industry. So in media industry, Google has YouTube, right? That's how it has impacted. Meta has Facebook Live. Amazon has their Amazon Prime uh, and their video services, correct? Microsoft also has Microsoft TV, and Apple also has Apple TV. So this is how they have impacted the media industry. They have also impacted the automotive industry. So Google came with Google Car. Microsoft provided the operating system in the for the automotive sector. Even Apple also provided a similar kind of a product, right? So what I'm trying to say is that these five companies, they have the impact across all the different industries. And if you see the market capitalization of, I mean, in the last decade, okay, if you see the list of the top companies with in the order of the market capitalization, there was hardly one tech company on the list, and it was only Microsoft. And most the other companies, the other nine companies, were the asset companies, such as oil and gas, or for example, ExxonMobil, or we had the Walmart, so all these companies that had physical assets, these companies topped the list in the market capitalization. I mean, on the charts of the market capitalization a decade back. But if you see a decade later, in the decade of 2010, the names of the list change significantly. Now, the top 10 companies, 9 out of 10 are the digital companies, the technical companies who top the chart. And the companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, they all make up that chart. Okay, so things have changed. So this shows how things have drastically moved towards digital. So first, we spoke about the front runners. Second, we talk about the entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs belong to a certain specific industry, and they impact the industry with a unique product or a service or a solution. So we have like entrepreneurs in different industry, impacting the industry in certain ways. And then the last segment, the last player, very interesting, are the incumbents. So the incumbents, now how do we define the business incumbents? So these business incumbents, so we can use three main criteria for defining the business incumbents. So first of all the business incumbents have, uh, like they are born in the pre-digital era, or they have been in the business for at least more than 3 to 4 decades. So all the businesses are pre-digital, and they are into the business for at least 3 to 4 decades. I can name some incumbents. For example, in the field of telecommunications, we have companies like Ericsson, or we have AT&T, or Verizon, or Vodafone. So these are the business incumbents. In the retail sector, we have companies like H&M, okay, or Walmart. So all these are the business incumbents. So the first criteria to define them is that they are born pre-digital and they have been in the business for a very long time, at least 3 to 4 days. The second criteria is that they have global operations. They have the global operations. They exist in almost all, like all the major countries in the major markets. They have their operations running. And the third important criteria is that they have the headcount or the employees at least like minimum 10,000 plus. So that is the third criteria. So which means these corporations are large, and these are the business incumbents. And one interesting thing is that these business incumbents have an incumbency advantage. Okay, so since they are the incumbents, they have a power position in a certain industry. So they have an incumbency advantage to drive new innovations and to drive changes or transformation in the industry. However, that is not the case. So what happens, these business incumbents, in fact, although they have the potential to make changes or to drive transformations in the industries, these incumbents, if you observe them in different industries, they have really struggled to make that significant change or to make a difference. So it is, and there are several reasons why they have struggled, okay, to make this change. The first reason is that because of their own culture, these incumbents over the years, they have like formed a very rigid culture, like most of them, okay, and that culture, along with that culture, exists a pre-digital mindset. So it's very difficult to kind of break their own patterns, break their own culture, and reinvent something new. Okay, it's just very difficult for that, because these companies have been doing certain things in a certain way for many years. And to change something, it really takes a lot of time, and it is not easy thing for these companies to do because they have a certain rigid culture. That's one of the big challenge. Second challenge is that they lack the technical competence in these companies. Now, for example, take case of a technology called AI. Now, all these business incumbents, they may not have this AI competence in them. So for them to adopt a new technology such as AI into the business, it is not an easy job for them because they lack the technical competence internal. Because AI is not a part of their core business. So to adopt a new technology and make a transformation with it, it is a big challenge because of lack of technical competence or technical know-how. That's the second challenge. The third challenge is that sometimes they have a budget crunch because they have a certain budget allocations in for certain projects. So these digital transformation projects, because of lack of know-how, technical know-how, or maybe lack of confidence among the top management, they don't have sufficient budget allocations for the transformation projects, because of which it is difficult for them to enable this transformation. Fourth one, very important, is the leadership. Okay, because of lack of support, adequate support from the top management, the executives, and the leadership, it is very difficult for these incumbent firms to drive the transformation within their companies. Because to drive a change, there must be some support, some championship coming from the top management. And if you see the leaders, these, and in most of the incumbent firms, the leadership comes from the pre-digital age with a pre-digital mindset. So it is very difficult, okay, for these leadership, the leaders, to kind of change their mindset, shift their mindset towards really understanding and appreciating the value of the digital transformation technologies. It becomes very difficult. So it is very hard to get that support from the top leaders. And fifth, last but not the least, is that these incumbent firms lack a digital strategy for change. And that is exactly the challenge which I have addressed in my book. And hence the book entitles Digital Strategy Framework. So in my book, I have addressed the fifth challenge, which is one of a prominent one, the lack of digital transformation strategy. So what most of these incumbents have done is that they have embarked upon the digital transformation, but without a proper digital transformation strategy. So what do I mean by without a proper digital transformation strategy? I mean, they have kicked off digital transformation, but with a certain plan, with a certain objective in place, but the plan is not, it is not a part of the group strategy. For example, if you ask the CEO of the company, what is your strategy, digital transformation strategy, the answer might be different. If you ask the marketing team, what is your digital transformation strategy? The answer might be different. If you ask a technical team, they might give a different answer. So there is no consistency in what they mean by the digital strategy, transformation strategy. So each of them have started. So this transformation is underway, but it happens in different pockets, in silos. And if you see the corporate strategy, that is different from the digital transformation strategy, which is one of the major mistakes that is incumbents, most of them have made. Because in order to enable digital transformation, it is so crucial that your corporate strategy, or your digital transformation strategy rather, is your corporate strategy. So it should not be that your corporate strategy is different and digital transformation strategy is different. Okay, because it really sends across different messages in the company. And that is the challenge, because most of the incumbents, they have embarked on the digital transformation without a proper digital transformation strategy. And those who have already like embarked on the transformation journey, most of them have really struggled, to deliver on the digital transformation projects. As per a recent study by McKinsey, you know what is the success rate of digital transformation project? Only 30%, which means 70% of the digital transformation projects fail. That is the failure rate, as per a recent study by McKinsey. So many projects actually fail, the transformation projects. And I just stated, right, what are the challenges? What are the reasons for the failure? The reason can be the culture, rigid culture, lack of technical competence, lack of funding, lack of support from leadership, and lack of strategy. So these are the main reasons why these transformation projects fail. Just to give you an example, what is the difference between a normal IT project and a digital transformation project? So a normal IT project could be that, for example, if you want to say, for example, if you're building a web portal for your employees, okay, within your organization. So that is a normal IT project, because there is a standard process. There is a standardization around how to build a web portal, developing a web portal or building a website. So this process is like a couple of decades old. So people know. So there is a standardization around it. People know how to develop the website in the least possible effort and in the least cost. So there is a standardization around it. So which means there is a certain set practice to build a web portal. That's what I call a normal IT project. But digital transformation projects are not like that. Digital transformation projects are something which people have never done before, most of the steps. There are lots of uncertainties and there is a high risk in all the projects. I can give an example. For example, to change a sales process with the help of AI, that is an example of a digital transformation project. Now, the people in the company, they have never used AI, or they have never traveled the new path which they are proposing. So they don't know actually how this AI will help them in enabling a new engagement with the customer, or how actually it can change their sales process. They have no idea. So there is a high risk of so there is a high risk and there is a high uncertainty in this project. So that's what I mean by a digital transformation project. So in a digital transformation project, you need a different mindset. And there is a constant learning and development which happens on the side. Okay. You have to make sure that there is a program in place, and all your resources, your team, they undergo constant learning and development on the side to make sure a digital transformation project is successful. So that's why, because of this big gap, around 70% of projects have failed. So that is a huge number. Okay, if you like consider the amount of investments that have gone into the digital transformation for over last decade. And when you have a failure rate as high as 70%, you really don't see a good ROI, return on investment, right? So which means there are some problems, challenges. And that's what I have added the the challenge of strategy. Because of lack of strategy, which is one of the reasons why these digital transformation projects fail. And those incumbents who have already started on, say, creating a strategy, what they have really lacked is a. That's exactly my solution in my book, where I have provided a framework, a digital strategy framework for these incumbent businesses. So if they go by this framework, they can streamline their processes, they can streamline their ways of working, and the chances of delivering a digital transformation project successfully, it increases many folds because of the framework. So that is the solution that I'm presenting in my book. So the framework is contains like two phases. First is strategy creation, which contains all the different steps in the strategy creation. And then the last part is strategy execution, which is the most important part. Because strategy execution is actually the least traveled path in the corporates, in this incumbents. That is the problem. Creation, like most of the incumbents, they really like they have good processes. They make sure that there is a strategy. But to follow the strategy, to get to the place where we have actually planned in the first place, that is a big challenge. The strategy execution is a very crucial piece. So this framework is an end-to-end framework. It has both strategy creation as well as strategy execution. And if you see in the today's market, there are like very few, in fact, there is very little content on the internet. There are very few books that actually talk about or which actually provide a framework. So I have addressed this gap which exists in the market through my book, through by providing a digital strategy framework. So that is the need of the hour, right? So that's exactly what Dario answers your question. What inspired you to write the book? Because I feel it is the need of the hour. This is what the incumbent businesses, especially, need this framework so that they can streamline their processes and make sure that their projects, the transformation projects, are successful.
Just to find a way to unmute myself. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this overview of what's going on and what is it book all about. As I understand, today I got a message, in fact, from another student. He's asking, where can I get the book? But of course, it's going to happen on February. That's a practical question, just to be sure.
Exactly. Right now, it's for pre-order on Amazon. So if they pre-order, then the book will be delivered, I believe, by first week of March. But it will be launched and it will be in stock after February 19th, I guess. Yeah, that is the launch date. So then the book will be available on website.
Okay. And then speaking about the digital strategy framework, and of course, you are speaking about the organizations who are very old and decades. So they have already things in place. And how, in their cases, they can apply the digital framework strategy, and how would they do that? For instance, if there is a company from early 90s, and of course, they see need of the hour, but take into consideration the failure rate of 70%, how it goes in a practical way not to fail in such a obvious way.
Yes, that's a very good question. So how they can implement it? So the business incumbents, I believe, they might have some sort of a strategy in place. Correct. So there are like two ways a business incumbent can adopt a framework. First is that if they already have a strategy in place, then I would suggest that still they can go to the framework and see that what are the steps which they have missed, or what are the modules which they have missed in the framework, and they can just work on a specific module and make sure they update their current strategy based on that. That's the first thing they can do if they already have a strategy in place. If they do not have a strategy at all, which I believe will be a very rare case, but if they do not have a strategy, then it is a greenfield for them. They can start right from scratch and start the framework and use the framework end to end, right from strategy creation all the way till the execution, and follow all the steps. Of course, the framework is also customizable framework. I mean, it is just a guideline, a framework. They can always add some more content to customize as per their business requirements. They can always add, or they can always skip a certain step or skip a certain module, which is fine, okay, depending upon the business requirements. But if they haven't started or don't have a strategy in place, then they can use this framework as a starting point. Or if an incumbent firm is at a certain stage where they want to revise their strategy, for example, we are living in the age today where Gen AI or generative AI is so popular, right? And most of the businesses are trying to understand how to get the best value out of it. So for that, they might need a revision in their strategy. So if an incumbent business wants to revise their strategy as well, then they can again use this framework. If they want to revise the existing strategy or begin the phase 2 of the strategy, they can again go back to the framework and see what are the missing steps. They can customize it as per the requirements, and they can continue their deployments considering the framework as the guideline. So, which means that this framework is even relevant and even applicable at any stage of their transformation journey, regardless if an incumbent has a strategy in place or if they want to revise the strategy in future, depending upon a certain technology. So that's how they can use this, and that's how they can apply it. Yeah.
And thank you. Ivana, you would like to ask, or maybe I can just continue with one more. On what level of organization it's applicable?
Yes.
Framework, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this framework is applicable at the different levels of organizations. So it is applicable at the top level, the group level, which comprises the CEO and his or her executive leadership team. So the framework can be used to create a group strategy. Then you can break down, and then the framework can be applied at the middle management level also, or at the level of L2, L3 leadership. It can be applied as well. It can also be applied at the level of the different teams. Like if you go further down the pyramid, you can also apply the framework. So at different levels in the corporate hierarchy, the framework can be applied. But the only difference is that the strategic priorities might change at different levels. But the priorities will not be significantly different. So, for example, if the CEO says that, I can give an example. If one of the strategic priority at the group level, at the level of CEO, is that in next year we focus on increasing sales by 10%, for example, then this strategic priority, which is at a group level, which states that, which says that to increase sales by 10% in the following year, this can be broken down at different levels. So at one level below, you can have a certain detail about the strategy. One can say that let us fix this problem and this problem, okay, so that we improve sales by 10%. At one level below, the strategic priority might be certain different, but in line with the group strategy. So accordingly, at different levels, the strategy can be broken down into finer details. For example, the same strategy at the product development level, a product developer. So that team can have a strategy that let us release 10 new features of our product, or let us incorporate AI into our product so that we improve the sales by 10%. Okay, you understand, right? So this is how the framework, the strategic priorities differ, or they go a level deeper as we go down the corporate hierarchy, the corporate pyramid. So this framework is applicable at all the different levels in a corporate hierarchy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm looking towards getting the book. I'm really eager now to read more. Well, what's the size of the book? How many pages? And is there any additional, what's the construct of the book? You're using also cases? How do you organize the book?
Yeah, so the number of pages are 240. And the construct of the book, it has 6 chapters. So there is a case study also in the last chapter where I have spoken about the practical application of this framework at the workplace, because that is exactly the message of the book. The success of the book lies in how a reader can practically apply the concepts, the framework at the workplace. So there is a strategy, there is a case which is given in the end that tells the reader or shows the reader how exactly one can take the concepts learned and apply them at the workplace. So there is a case, yes. And an interesting one. It is a long case, but quite interesting. So I hope you will like that one, reading that case. And one can really relate well to the case, because the case also contains the live business problems that one faces, a team faces, whenever they embark a digital transformation journey. So it is a story of a company, a corporate, and how the corporate embarks on a digital transformation, how they create a digital strategy and execute them. It's just a framework, like how they apply the framework to their workplace. So that is the case about it.
And how much time did you invest in writing the book? When did you start?
Wow. Yes. So the writing actually took
2010.
the actual yes, the actual writing took me a year. So in 2023, last year, from January I started. So it took me almost a year to write. But the whole idea, the inception of the book began much earlier than that. It was, I believe, 2 to 3 years before that. The whole idea, the concept of digital strategy was rolling in my mind. But then I thought that maybe I should write it down and just publish it for the benefit of the business community. So the whole writing manifested at the beginning of 2023, and it took a year finally so to get it through.
Ivan, my apologies for jumping in and asking a few questions. Now it's your turn.
No, please go ahead. Yeah. So Ivana, if you have any question, you can also. I'll be happy to answer.
Yes, no problem, Dario. Don't worry. It was interesting to hear to have the brief summary of what the book is about, and also to hear the journey of the writing. It's pretty interesting. On my side, I can say that I'm really looking forward into reading the book, as I believe it's going to be very valuable for myself, for my project as well, and also to understand this new digital era, as it's called. I believe it's very valuable point for every business today. So yes, I will be first on the list actually to pre-order of
Thanks,
the
Ivana.
yeah. Then we can of course maybe another session to discuss it once we have read the whole all of the chapters and the whole summary.
Well, I can tell you once the book is out, we are going to inform the AFSM community that they can make an order. So it's not
Indeed,
going to
yes.
be
Yeah.
waiting a little bit more than 1 month. So it's not too bad. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this. It's always great, as Ivana said, to see fresh initiatives and good practice in place. And of course, you like to see conscious efforts and conscious leadership in place. It's, in one sense, it's easy to give a theory, but put it in a practice, write a book, invest so much time on top of, as we said initially, being a family man, teacher, educator, and having, of course, full-time work in addition to everything. Professor Prabhu, it's great. So it's remarkable for us as your colleagues, and I'm sure to the wider community of AFSM and wider community. Just today, I was seeing communication from South Africa. Some university teachers are inquiring. It's great. So I'm sure this is not the last work of yours. So let us see now the regular sequences. AI is there, as you know, so we will speak during that. And hopefully one day I'm going to also be able to invite you for similar topic when I'm going to be ready with my product, my book. But till then, great. Thank you both. And if there is no additional comment, I think this is the time and place where we can say after 45 minutes, goodbye to each other with the best wishes in 2024.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Dario. So this was my first virtual book promotion session, and happy that I started with Alfred Ford School of Management, where I am also a faculty, and this institute is very close to my heart. So this is my first promotion event, and it's a good place to kickstart from.
Perfect. Thank you very much, both. Ivana, all the best. And as I said, hope to see you again soon. Have a
Thank
good,
you.
restful afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.